What's the greatest ever fall from grace? Sears. Was perfectly positioned to be what Amazon is now. As a 90s kid, I remember the Sears catalog being like an analog version of Amazon. It's not like I ever ordered anything from it, but it was a great reference when looking for gift ideas. For myself, of course. I immediately checked out the ladies in bras. Blockbuster. Was perfectly positioned to be what Netflix is now. Sorry I borrowed your words. They had the opportunity to buy Netflix and didn't think it was worth it. Just like the guys at LG who laughed the Android devs out of the room. They took their toys to Google. I believe the inventor of the Wii nunchucks was snuffed so bad by Sony in their pitch meeting that he went to Nintendo that same week out of spite. On the subject of Nintendo, they had one of their own. It's been a while since I've refreshed my memory, so some of my facts may be a little off. They were developing a CD-based peripheral with Sony. Sony put in the work and gave them a prototype. Nintendo decided not to go ahead with it and snubbed Sony. They may have even broken a contract, I forget. They ended up doing a partnership thing with Philips on the CDI. Sony, of course, took their tech and made their own system with blackjack and hookers. And thus the PlayStation was born and Nintendo created their own greatest rival. And only for only 50 mil. Insanity to think about, because that was when Netflix was in its infancy of being a buy-mail DVD rental. To be fair, when Netflix was in its infancy and being pitched, it was basically just a mail-in order service, and Blockbuster did not believe technology could advance so quickly for high-speed internet. Blockbuster was the institution of home entertainment at the time. Rentals from a store wasn't just a service, it was a culture that people participated in, going to rent a movie for the weekend or occasion, etc. So you could imagine they were skeptical about Netflix, which had pretty much nothing special to offer until high-speed internet streaming came along. YouTube used to be utter garbage too. There were all the memes about buffering and chasing the gray, referencing the buffer line, which you barely hear about these days due to how fast everything is. Oscar Pistorius, South African sprinter, who was inspiration to physically disabled people all over the world with his participation in both Olympic and Paralympic. Dude killed his girlfriend and went to jail for a few years. I think he was released last year. He was quite an asshole also. He famously lashed out at a fellow Paralympic sprinter who beat him in a race and accused him of using illegal blades. The person in question was shocked and said that Oscar was his role model, and now he attacked me without reason. I remember when he insisted he should compete in the actual Olympics because he was a better runner than anyone else, and they shouldn't split them. He didn't come first and threw a massive hissy fit over it. His blades were also questionable in length compared to other people of his height. Granted, you can never really know how someone's body ratio would be, but his was on the very high end of what was considered normal. Not to mention that they were springy while running shoes are strictly regulated to not give unfair advantages. Jared from Subway. They have a documentary about him on Max, I think it was. Just watched it the other day. Dude was a monster. Glad they caught him. They included audio recordings of him. Disgusting excuse for a human being. What a waste of air. He was proud of it. You guys should check his wiki page. It's a riot. Considers himself a sovereign citizen now. Announced from prison. No remorse. Fucker regrets nothing and lives in denial. He raped multiple children and only got 15 years of prison? What a failure of our legal system. I've seen people get similar sentences for growing pot. The prosecutor, judge, and police involved should be ashamed. Such a fucking joke. The woman who helped catch him is fucked up badly now from having to talk about all those things with him. I saw her on a talk show and she's got a ton of anxiety problems and things like that because part of her script from the authorities was to use her own kids as bait in the conversation. I'm glad we got a child rapist off the streets, but the collateral damage to this woman is something he should also be held responsible for, at least civilly IMO. The script wasn't to include the children as bait. The script was to play along with him. Then he, to the shock of nobody, started taking about her kids that way. So it's less encouraged her to put them at risk and more, don't obviously shield them from the risk. Appalling but distinctly different. I don't know how her recordings weren't evidence enough to get enough warrants and utterly rip his life apart and find the evidence. Brian Williams. Dude was the nation's most beloved news anchor with a stellar career and one of the most coveted positions in journalism, then lost it all overnight when he lied about an RPG hitting his helicopter in Iraq. Edit. As others have mentioned, there's been analysis over the years into whether he intentionally lied or misremembered. The word lied was liberally used in headlines at the time, but ultimately his credibility was irreparably tarnished following internal investigation into multiple instances of accounts being fabricated, misrepresented, or embellished, not just the RPG story. Matt Lauer in another example of beloved anchor fucking up. He was the guy with door locking button, right? Edit. Phone likes to correct door to 4. Apparently the door button wasn't unique to Lauer's office, and it didn't actually lock the door. According to the NBC Universal Facilities team, the button is a commonly available feature in executive offices in multiple NBC Universal facilities to provide an efficient way to close the door without getting up from the desk. The button releases a magnet that holds the door open. It does not lock the door from the inside. Ellen. I still remember my disbelief when my aunt told me Ellen was one of the worst celebrities she's ever met. This was years before her personality scandals. All she did was say hello to her, and that she loved the show. Ellen glared at her, rolled her eyes, and then walked away without saying a word. My aunt said she could never watch Ellen after that, and I was so confused. Now I don't blame her. Celebrities don't owe anyone anything, but all she needed to say was a simple thank you. Being kind isn't that hard. It's especially out of character because she built her whole persona on being a kind, wholesome person. I remember my mother watching her show and thinking how rude and annoying she was because she never let anyone actually answer her questions before talking over them. This was my lesson about people in general. I remember loving Ellen's stand-up, her scripted TV show at one point, and watching the daytime show she's famous for with my dad. I enjoyed it topically and the jokes were light. But over time, as I got older, I could pick up on those moments, like the one you mention. She wasn't actually being nice to Taylor Swift, but the audience laughed. It's low-key weird the energy she has around this man she commands to dance. I grew up around one of the celebrities she interviewed and remember thinking, they're just kids. Even late-night hosts are gentler with handling kids. Think of the infamous interview with Serena Williams, her dad, and the interviewer, her dad chastised. Like there were so many tiny, odd moments that felt like, oh, now I'm being nitpicky or being snarky or catty. But no, I was right. The way in which I assessed her treatment of others beyond her smile and jokes was spot on. I learned that and haven't been wrong since. I know better than to rush to judgment or make grand assumptions. It's about long patterns of quiet behaviors. But pay attention to when your gut says nuance is standing out. Please like and subscribe for more daily content. I upload videos daily. You are also welcome to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching.